In this episode, we'll be riding from the US border in Montana all the way down through to Chicago. We'll be using the Adventure Cycling Association's northern route and then joining on to a lot of rail trails at the end as we get closer to Chicago. If you enjoy this vid, please give us a like, leave us a comment below, and even if you don't enjoy it, leave us a comment anyway and tell us what we've done wrong. We crossed into the US at the small border post of Oppheim, Montana, and straight away were greeted by small towns, long open roads, and farmland as far as we could see. We've crossed the border from Canada straight into a heat wave here in the US. We're in Montana now, and we're going to be heading east for the next couple months towards New York. Looking forward to what we find here in the USA. This part of Montana is hay and cattle country, and one day while riding through a storm, a friendly rancher named Rick pulled over and offered us a place to sleep for the night. He invited us into his home on his ranch where his family had farmed for over 100 years. We met his wife and grandkids and had our first glimpse of small town kindness here in the US. We weren't sure exactly what to expect when riding across the US, being such a big and diverse country, and it was kind of daunting to try imagine all the things that lay ahead. But I think by far what we were looking forward to experiencing the most were the small towns. And pretty soon we found ourselves in the town of Wolf Point watching a stampede parade. An American tradition where floats drive through the streets to celebrate their local community and throw out candy to the crowd. Away from the towns, the roads were long and straight, with not a lot to see but crops and hay bales. And without many trees around, we were looking for shade wherever we could to take a break. Just leaving the town of Glendive this morning, which will be the last town that we stop in Montana. We've really enjoyed Montana, the people here have been amazing. Really liked all the little small towns. And the landscape's changing now as we ride on today. And this afternoon we should be in North Dakota. Pow! When we entered North Dakota, we rode alongside the Painted Canyon at Theodore Roosevelt National Park, and the landscape went from dead flat to rolling hills. It was quite a distance between towns in North Dakota, and the ones that we reached usually had a population of less than 100 people. We never had a problem finding somewhere to sleep at night though. If we couldn't find a proper campsite, we'd just camp out in a town park, under a shelter if possible, with all the locals we met being very welcoming and happy to have cyclists passing through their town. While following the Northern Tier route was putting us on quiet country roads away from traffic and giving us a chance to see rural life in America, the days out on the road were hot and long and sometimes a bit monotonous, and had us just looking forward to reaching the next town. So we are in North Dakota now. So far we haven't seen too much. A lot of hay bales, a few cows, just having a little roadside snack, and yeah, let's go. It often felt like we'd taken a step back in time, or onto a movie set from the 60s. The small towns here were full of friendly people, where we always felt welcome and left with smiles on our faces, looking forward to where we'd end up next. There seemed to be a real sense of small town pride in North Dakota, with many of the locals we met being born and raised here, and telling us they couldn't imagine life anywhere else. Almost all the people here were from farming families who'd been working the land for generations, and it seemed like a pretty cool place to live. We just camped out in a little park tonight, and this is somewhere we've been camping lots of the time here in the States. All the parks have these little shelters with access to bathrooms and stuff, so it's been really handy. All the locals are pretty happy for us to camp here, and yeah, so that's where we're spending the night again tonight. We would always ask a local if it was okay if we camped in these shelters in the parks. Or if we didn't make it to a town, we'd sometimes even just ask a farmer if it was okay if we camped on their lawn. We've just crossed the border into Minnesota after spending the last couple of days at a really nice warm showers host just outside Fargo. We're told the landscape's going to start changing pretty soon, and it's going to see a lot more trees and some rivers and lakes. But at the moment, still just lots more farmland, lots of crops. We've got lots of corn, sunflowers, hay bales, pretty much the same thing we've been seeing for the last couple of weeks. But Minnesota, looking forward to it. So far in Minnesota, we've seen lots of lakes, a bit of wildlife, a lot more trees and shade throughout the day, and we're riding this beautiful rail trail. So far, so good. And continuing our tour of all things Americana, we one day found ourselves in the middle of a street parade, marching band and all, where we just joined in and rode along like we were meant to be there. This was just on the outskirts of Minneapolis, where we were going to meet up with our friend Charlie, who we'd met last year while riding across South Korea. As well as being a great host to us in Minneapolis, Charlie rode us into town and showed us the sights, all the way to the mighty Mississippi River. Out of Minneapolis, we crossed the Mississippi and entered into our fourth state of the US, Wisconsin. Here the Northern Tier route turns south to follow the river, through more small towns, with one famous for having what's claimed to be some of the best pie in America. But spoiler alert, it's only at best an
8 out of 10.
The route along the Mississippi has plenty of good campsites and nice trails to ride too. With lots of water and trees around, there's lots of variety in the scenery and more great little towns to stop in, like the town of La Crosse, which is home to Smith's Bike Shop. The team here are a great bunch and helped us out with a tune-up while we waited nearby in one of the many local breweries. We're just following the Mississippi River now. We left the town of La Crosse this morning, which is a great little town, lots of breweries, good fun. Lots of little American towns along this part of the route, good riding and nice scenery. You're never far from a campsite while riding along the Mississippi, but we pretty quickly found out that you're also never far from the train tracks. Gonna be probably not the best night's sleep tonight. We entered our 5th state yesterday, Iowa. More good riding, lots of corn. Let's go. Iowa is world famous for its corn, but not only does it lead the US in corn production, producing around 2.5 billion bushels annually, it's home to possibly the most famous cornfield of them all, the Field of Dreams. Growing up playing baseball all my life, I've watched this film many times over, so it was a real treat to not only visit, but get to throw a ball around at this iconic ballpark. We reached the town of Davenport on the Mississippi and then turned east again, to begin our ride along the Great American Rail Trail route. We'd been looking forward to these trails since we began planning our ride in the US, and straight away, they did not disappoint. So we just had a day off at an absolutely awesome warm showers host just outside Davenport. Now we've hit this great section of trails on our way towards Chicago. We started out with the Hennepin Canal Trail, which was nice flat riding alongside the canal with plenty of places to camp and take a break along the way.
What do you think of the canal path?
Top notch. We're on the I&M trail now, just still on our way to Chicago, about 150k away. These canal trails have been really nice the last couple of days. Heaps of camping options around, really well maintained, obviously away from traffic. Yeah, just lovely. Trails like this are just absolute bliss. The world needs more of them. Even as we got closer to the big city of Chicago, the pristine bike trails continued. We crossed the world-famous Route 66 and entered the city using the Centennial Trail, joined by many locals out for a ride too. We'd been asked by quite a few why we were bothering going up to Chicago, with some seeming to think we might not enjoy it. But for us it was a place not to be missed, because as much as we enjoy the quiet rural towns, The hustle and bustle of a big city is always a fun time. And of course, we couldn't miss out on deep dish pizza and, being a baseball fan, seeing the Cubs play at Wrigley Field. The first chapter of our time in the US has been amazing, and we can't wait to see more as we make our way towards New York. Join us on our journey by subscribing to this channel or find us on Instagram at We Ride Bikes Places.